Los Angeles was a city of lights, from the glittering skyline of downtown to the endless glow of Hollywood Boulevard. The city seemed alive every second of the night. People came there chasing dreams, actors, musicians, writers, and wanderers, hoping to become someone new. But beneath the glamour, Los Angeles hid secrets, old secrets, forgotten secrets, and some of them refused to stay buried. Ethan Carter had lived in Los Angeles for only 6 months. A freelance journalist from Chicago, he specialized in strange stories and urban legends. Most of the time, his assignments were harmless. Abandoned hotels, mysterious disappearances, haunted restaurants that turned out to be nothing more than creaking pipes and overactive imaginations. Then he received an email. There was no name, no greeting, only a single sentence. If you want a real ghost story, go to the house above Hollywood. Attached was an address. Ethan searched it online. Nothing. No property records. No photos. No recent mentions. Just an old newspaper clipping from 1978. A family of 4 had disappeared from the property. No bodies. No suspects. No explanation. The case had never been solved. That alone was enough to get Ethan interested. The next evening, he drove into the Hollywood Hills. The winding roads twisted through expensive mansions and quiet neighborhoods. Eventually, the GPS lost signal. The road became narrow. Trees blocked the moonlight. Then he saw it. The house. A massive Victorian structure standing alone on a hill. Its windows were dark. Its paint had peeled away decades ago. Dead vines wrapped around the walls like skeletal fingers. The building looked abandoned. Yet somehow it felt awake. Watching. Waiting. Ethan parked and stepped out. The air was unusually cold. Los Angeles nights were rarely chilly, but here the temperature felt 20 degrees lower. A rusted gate stood open. He walked through it. The silence was unsettling. No insects. No birds. No wind. Nothing. Only his footsteps. The front door was slightly open. He pushed it gently. The hinges groaned. Inside, dust covered everything. Broken furniture sat untouched. Old portraits hung crooked on the walls. The beam of Ethan's flashlight swept across the entrance hall. Then he froze. Fresh footprints. Someone had been here recently. The footprints led upstairs. Ethan followed them. The second floor contained several bedrooms. Most were empty. One room still contained furniture. A bed, a dresser, a rocking chair. The chair moved slowly. Back and forth. Back and forth. Back and forth. Ethan stared. There was no breeze. No open window. Yet the chair continued, rocking. His heart beat faster. He raised his camera and snapped a photo. The flash illuminated the room. For a split second, he thought he saw a woman sitting in the chair. A pale woman with black eyes. Then she vanished. The chair stopped moving. The room became silent again. Ethan swallowed hard. "Okay," he whispered. "That's new." He spent another hour exploring. Near midnight, he entered the attic. The smell hit him immediately. Rotting wood. Mold. Something else. Something foul. His flashlight revealed old boxes stacked against the walls. Most contained newspapers and personal belongings. One box held dozens of photographs. A family. Mother. Father. 2 daughters. The family from the newspaper clipping. As Ethan examined the pictures, he noticed something strange. In every photo, a shadow stood behind them. The shape resembled a tall man. Too tall, Its face was always blurred. Its eyes appeared completely black. Ethan checked multiple photographs. The figure appeared in all of them, every single one. His stomach tightened. A sudden noise echoed behind him. Footsteps, slow, heavy, moving across the attic floor. Ethan turned around. Nobody. The footsteps continued. Closer. Closer. Yet the attic remained empty. Then a voice whispered beside his ear, "Leave." Ethan jumped. The flashlight slipped from his hand. Darkness swallowed the attic. For several terrifying seconds, he heard breathing. Not his own, something else's, something standing very close. Then the flashlight flickered back on. The attic was empty. The breathing had stopped. Ethan left immediately. As he reached his car, he glanced back at the house. A figure stood in an upstairs window, tall. Motionless. Watching him. The same figure from the photographs. Its black eyes reflected moonlight. Then the lights inside the house suddenly turned on. Every room, every window, brilliant white light flooded the structure. Ethan got into his car and drove away without looking back. The next day he began investigating. The house had once belonged to the Harper family. Robert Harper, his wife Eleanor, their daughters Lily and Sophie. Neighbors described them as kind people. Normal people. Until 6 months before their disappearance. That's when strange things began happening. Lights turning on by themselves. Voices at night. Animals refusing to approach the property. One neighbor reported seeing a tall shadow walking around the house after midnight. Another claimed he heard children screaming from inside the walls. Police never found evidence. The complaints stopped after the family vanished. 3 days later, Ethan met an elderly woman named Margaret. She was 90 years old and one of the last surviving residents who remembered the Harpers. When Ethan showed her a photograph of the house, her face turned pale. "You went there?" she asked. "Yes." "You shouldn't have. Why?" Margaret looked around nervously, as if afraid someone might overhear. Then she spoke. "The house wasn't haunted when the Harpers moved in." "What changed?" "The basement." Ethan leaned forward. "What about it?" Margaret's hands trembled. Robert Harper dug beneath the house. "For what?" "He never told anyone." "What happened?" Margaret stared out the window. "He found something." That night, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about her words. He returned to the house. This time he brought professional equipment. Cameras. Audio. Recorders. Extra lights. And a handgun. Not because he believed ghosts could be shot, because sometimes humans were more dangerous than spirits. The house seemed darker than before, more hostile. The air felt heavy. Oppressive. Almost alive. He entered through the front door. Immediately, he noticed something had changed. The footprints were gone. Every trace of them. As if they had never existed. He headed toward the basement. The door was hidden beneath the staircase. Locked. A thick chain wrapped around it. The chain looked newer than everything else. Someone had placed it there recently. Ethan cut it with bolt cutters. The door creaked open. A wave of icy air rushed out. He descended slowly. Each step groaned beneath his weight. The basement was enormous. Far larger than the house above should have allowed. That made no sense, but neither did much of what he'd experienced. His flashlight scanned the darkness. Concrete walls. Old pipes. Dust. Then he noticed a tunnel. a narrow passage carved through the earth. It stretched into darkness. Ethan followed it. The deeper he went, the colder it became. Soon his breath formed clouds. The tunnel eventually opened into a large underground chamber. Symbols covered the walls. Strange symbols. Ancient looking. Nothing like ordinary graffiti. At the center stood a stone well. The air around it felt wrong, like reality itself was bending. His equipment suddenly malfunctioned. Cameras shut off. Lights flickered. Audio recorders emitted static. Then he heard children laughing. Soft. Distant. Echoing from inside the well. Ethan approached carefully. The laughter stopped. Silence. He looked down. Darkness. Endless darkness. Then 2 glowing eyes opened below. A child's voice drifted upward. "Help us." Another voice followed. "Please." Then dozens more. Hundreds. Whispering together. Crying. Begging. The sound filled the chamber. Ethan stepped back. The ground trembled. The walls vibrated. And something began climbing out of the well. Long black fingers gripped the stone edge. Then another hand. And another. And another. Far too many hands. Far too many. Ethan ran. Behind him came screams. Not human screams. The tunnel shook violently. Dust rained from the ceiling. He sprinted toward the basement stairs. Something chased him. He could hear it crawling. Fast. Impossible fast. Closer every second. He reached the stairs. The creature shrieked. Sound so horrible it felt like knives inside his skull. Ethan slammed the basement door. Something hit it from the other side. Once. Twice. 3 times. The wood cracked. Then suddenly silence. Complete silence. Breathing heavily, Ethan backed away. His flashlight beam moved across the hallway and stopped. Someone stood there. A little girl. Around 10 years old. Wearing an old-fashioned white dress. Her face was pale, almost translucent. She looked familiar. Then Ethan realized why. She was one of the Harper daughters. Lily. The girl pointed toward the wall. A single word escaped her lips. Below. Then she vanished. At that exact moment, a hidden section of the wall slowly opened by itself, revealing another staircase descending. Deeper underground. Far deeper than the basement. Far deeper than should have been possible. Cold air poured upward, and from the darkness below came the sound of hundreds of voices whispering together. Waiting. Watching. Calling his name. Ethan stood frozen before the hidden staircase. The narrow steps disappeared into darkness far below. Cold air drifted upward, carrying the smell of damp earth and decay. The whispers continued. Hundreds of voices speaking at once. Some cried, some laughed, some simply repeated his name. Ethan, Ethan, Ethan. Every instinct told him to run. To leave the house. To get in his car and never come back. But curiosity had always been stronger than fear. It was the reason he became a journalist. And it was the reason he took the first step downward. The staircase seemed endless. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. The house above should have been far behind him by now, yet the stairs continued deeper. Finally, he reached the bottom. His flashlight illuminated a massive underground tunnel. It stretched in both directions beyond sight. The walls weren't natural. They appeared carved. Ancient. Far older than Los Angeles itself. Symbols identical to those in the chamber covered every surface. Some glowed faintly. As though a live. Ethan began walking. The whispers grew louder. Soon he noticed something disturbing. The tunnel wasn't empty. Figures stood along the walls. Dozens of them. Motionless. Watching. At first, he thought they were statues. Then one blinked. Ethan's blood ran cold. They were people. Or at least they had once been. Their skin was gray. Their eyes completely black. They stood perfectly still, like mannequins. Every head slowly turned as he passed, following him. Watching. Waiting. But none approached. After nearly 20 minutes, the tunnel opened into a gigantic cavern. Ethan stopped in disbelief. An entire underground city stretched before him. Stone buildings. Broken towers, ancient streets, everything buried beneath modern Los Angeles. The cavern ceiling was so high he couldn't see it. A dim blue glow illuminated the ruins. The sight was impossible, yet it stood before him, real, terrifyingly real. At the center of the city rose a massive black structure, a cathedral, unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. Its spires twisted unnaturally toward the darkness above. The architecture seemed wrong, almost painful to look at. Like his brain couldn't fully process its shape. And at the top stood a figure, the Shadow Man, the same entity from the photographs. Watching him. Waiting. As Ethan approached the cathedral, he heard footsteps behind him. He spun around. A little girl stood there, Lily Harper, the ghost. This time she looked clearer. More solid. Less like an apparition. You came, she said softly. You can talk? Yes. What happened to your family? Lily's expression darkened. We opened the door. What door? The one below. Ethan felt a chill. The well? She nodded. My father thought he found something valuable. What did he find? Not something. Her voice trembled. Someone. The cathedral doors opened by themselves. A deep groan echoed through the cavern. Lily stepped back. Fear filled her eyes. He knows you're here. Who? She looked toward the darkness inside. The Hollow King. Ethan entered. The interior was enormous. Rows of stone pillars stretched endlessly. Ancient carvings covered every surface. And everywhere he looked, he saw human figures. Thousands of them. Kneeling. Frozen. Like statues. Yet they weren't stone. They were real people, preserved somehow. A horrifying army trapped in place. At the far end stood a black throne. The shadow figure sat upon it. The creature rose slowly. It was nearly 10 feet tall. Its body resembled living darkness. No clear face. No clear features. Only two glowing eyes. Ancient. Hungry. Endless. The temperature dropped instantly. Frost spread across the floor. You should not have come here, it said. Its voice seemed to come from everywhere. Ethan forced himself to speak. What are you? The creature laughed, a sound like cracking bones. I existed long before your cities. What happened to the Harpers? They opened the gate. The well? The prison. Images suddenly flooded Ethan's mind. Visions. Memories that weren't his own. Thousands of years ago, an ancient civilization had existed beneath the region. They discovered something living beneath the earth. Something ancient. Something hungry. The creature fed on fear, on suffering, on souls, unable to destroy it. They imprisoned it deep underground. The well had been its cage. For centuries it remained trapped, waiting, dreaming, calling to the living. Then Robert Harper unknowingly broke the seal, and the prison opened, the visions ended. Ethan staggered backward. "You killed them?" "No." The Hollow King smiled. "They joined me." Suddenly dozens of figures emerged from the shadows. Among them stood Robert Harper, Eleanor Harper Dot, and Sophie Harper, Lily's family. Their eyes were black, their expressions empty. Not dead. Not alive. Something worse. Servants. Lily appeared beside Ethan. "She escaped," the Hollow King said. One soul slipped away. Something worse. Servants. Lily appeared beside Ethan. "She escaped," the Hollow King said. "Want to. Not dead. Not dead. Alive. Something worse. Live." The creature stared directly at her. "And now she wants to stop me." The cavern trembled violently. Dust fell from above. The Hollow King spread its arms. "The city above grows larger every year." Its voice echoed through the cathedral. "Millions of souls, millions of fears, millions of dreams to consume." Ethan finally understood. The creature wasn't merely haunting a house. It was preparing to escape. And if it reached the surface. Los Angeles would become its feeding ground. Lily grabbed Ethan's hand. "We have to close the gate." "How?" "My father left something." She pointed toward the throne. Beneath it lay a stone tablet covered with symbols. The seal. The Hollow King realized what she intended. Its eyes burned brighter. "No." The entire cathedral shook. The servants began moving. Thousands of black-eyed figures rose simultaneously, turning toward Ethan, toward Lily. Run, that was the only thought in Ethan's mind. He sprinted toward the throne. The servants surged forward. A tidal wave of bodies. The ground shook beneath their footsteps. Lily stayed beside him, guiding him. Faster. Ethan reached the tablet. Ancient symbols glowed across its surface. He didn't understand them, but somehow he knew what to do. The visions had left knowledge behind. The seal required a sacrifice. A living soul. Someone had to remain behind. Forever. Guarding the prison. "No," Ethan whispered. "There has to be another way." "There isn't," Lily said quietly. The servants were almost upon them. The Hollow King advanced from the darkness, smiling. Waiting. Then Lily stepped forward. "You can leave." "What?" "I can't." Tears filled her eyes. "I died here a long time ago." Ethan stared. "You never escaped?" She shook her head. "I've always been here." The realization hit him like a hammer. The ghost he'd been speaking to wasn't a survivor. She was one of the dead. "I've been holding the gate closed for decades," Lily said, "but I'm getting weaker." She looked toward the approaching darkness. "Tonight it ends," the Hollow King roared. The cathedral cracked. Entire pillars collapsed. The cavern trembled as if an earthquake had begun. Lily placed her hand on the tablet. Light exploded across the room. Blinding white light. The servants screamed. The Hollow King howled in rage. "Go," Lily shouted. Ethan hesitated. "Go." The floor beneath the throne shattered. A vortex of darkness opened. The Hollow King was dragged backward. Its claws tore through stone. Its roar shook the underground city. But the seal was working. The prison was reforming. For a brief moment, Lily smiled. A normal smile. The smile of a little girl who should have lived a long life. Tell them what happened. Then she disappeared into the light. The explosion that followed was beyond description. The entire underground city collapsed. Buildings crumbled. Streets shattered. The cathedral imploded. Ethan ran, faster than he had ever run in his life. Behind him, the ancient world died. The tunnel collapsed as he escaped. Stone crashed around him. Dust filled the air. The whispers vanished. The black-eyed figures vanished. Everything vanished. Finally, Ethan burst through the basement door. Seconds later, the hidden staircase collapsed. The wall sealed itself. As if it had never existed. Outside, dawn was breaking. Golden sunlight touched the Hollywood Hills. For the first time, the house looked ordinary. Empty. Silent. Dead. 3 days later, the house mysteriously burned down. Investigators blamed faulty wiring. No evidence of underground tunnels was ever found. No trace of the hidden city remained. The official story became another unsolved mystery. Just like countless others, Ethan published his article. Nobody believed him. Readers called it fiction. Editors called it impossible. Scientists laughed. Historians dismissed it. Eventually, the story faded away. Years later, Ethan returned to the site. Luxury homes now stood where the house once existed. Children played. Nearby. Cars passed through quiet streets. Everything seemed normal. Peaceful. Safe. As he prepared to leave, he noticed something. A little girl stood across the street, wearing a white dress. Watching him. Smiling. Lily. For just a second. Then she vanished. Ethan smiled sadly. Maybe some ghosts weren't monsters. Maybe some stayed behind to protect the living. Maybe some heroes were simply forgotten. But as he walked away, another feeling lingered. A terrible feeling. Because deep beneath Los Angeles, under miles of stone and darkness, he thought he heard something. A faint whisper, almost impossible to hear, yet unmistakable. A voice. Ancient. Patient. Hungry. The Hollow King was not dead, only sleeping.